It's hard to beat, and that's why you are the Stormchaser.
There we go. Congratulations. They're in order for exclusive Fox Weather Stormchaser Brandon Copic. Brandon was awarded the Stormchaser of the Year award at the National Stormchaser Summit, which took place in Colorado over the weekend. This is Brandon's first time winning after countless hours on the road in some of the meanest of storms that we had last year. His one mission through it all, to lend that helping hand during some of the most trying times that humans can go through. Brandon's wife, Valerie, along with some Fox Weather folks, they were there to show their support over the weekend, and we're fortunate after a weekend of partying. I'm sure not. Brandon's waking up early this morning, joining me with his newest accolade. Brandon, congratulations. Wish Marissa was here. She's disappointed that she had to step out. But you were busy last year. And when we look at 2025, we'll go into some of those memorable moments, but just wondering how it felt to be awarded that. What went through your mind? Were you surprised?
I mean, honestly, I'm just grateful to be there and do what I can to support the next generation of storm chasers and to support all the work that we do at Fox Weather. Definitely couldn't have done it without my great audience on YouTube as well. But it was truly an incredible experience, and I'm grateful that, my wife was there. And, obviously I heard the cheers, but the first thing I looked for was her, because she's the reason why everything happened. She pushed me to do this full time and be my best for our family. And I wouldn't be anywhere without her, honestly.
I think that's a good point. The support is crucial, especially when sometimes this weather can take you to some wild places. And we'll get into I think we're going to talk about the top 5 memorable moments that you had specifically with tornadoes this year. But why does, just more broadly, if you can, why does 2025 stand out to you?
I mean, I think personally the biggest reason 2025 stands out for me is just the amount of incredible photogenic tornadoes. You typically don't get so many of those. Usually you see a lot of high precip HP supercells where the tornadoes are wrapped in rain and you can't really get any good videography or photography of them. But 2025 was known for very well documented and very well visible tornadoes. And thankfully, overall, I mean, there were some significant tornadoes that did damage, but overall, I was very happy with more of the significant tornadoes that happened that didn't do much in the way of damage at all.
I do think, too, speaking about that summit, within the chaser community, there has been a lot of attention that's now paid to storms, and whether that be because of the accessibility with streaming and having that word get out can really mitigate at least the loss of life, which inevitably, and it's unfortunate and tragic that we did have that last year too. So we look at it through that lens, but let's start off with the number 5 most memorable. This was from June 28th. It was the Clear Lake, South Dakota one. What do you remember about that one? We also have video to, of course, share as you describe it.
Yeah, I mean, that photo or video, excuse me, right there is actually from the Gary tornado. But the Clear Lake one, it was absolutely incredible because the day was just already on such an incredible high note. We see this beautiful tornado develop, and it easily was one of the most incredible tornadoes that I saw this year. But then little did we know what was yet to come for the rest of the evening. So it definitely was a day full of just incredible views and going out there and doing what we can to support the communities impacted as well.
Yeah, when we look at where this one had, and thanks for correcting us on the video, this Clear Lake one, it was ultimately rated, as I had mentioned, an EF2. The peak wind's about 125 miles an hour. It was on the ground for about 3.5 miles. And unique, too, as we go through this list, there were a lot of storms through the high plains, a lot of tornadoes that you chased. In fact, number 4 was in the neighboring state of North Dakota. It was just 8 days before that one in Clear Lake. It was on June 20th. So I don't know, during those 8 days, did you just stay in the Dakotas, Brandon? And tell us more about the Spiritwood one.
Yeah, of course. Well, that area of the Dakotas was very busy during that time period. So it was actually relieving not to have to drive as much as I typically do. The Spiritwood tornado was actually the first of a series of tornadoes that happened that day in June, including the Enderlin EF5, which was the last tornado of the night. The Spiritwood tornado was beautiful, majestic. It just sat out in an open field, but eventually it got wrapped in rain. And at that point, I was like, all right, I'm out. I don't know where this thing is. This thing is clearly strong, and I'm not going to put myself at risk for it. Later in the day, not only did we have Spiritwood, we had another tornado near Valley City, a couple of very photogenic tornadoes right before that, and then eventually it led to the Enderlin EF5 that evening.
And that Enderlin one, a tough one to forget when we look at those train cars. That's what I'll always remember, those being flipped off the track, which that to have wind do that, easily in excess of 200 miles an hour. Just remarkable. Number 3, all right, we worked through it. We're staying in the Dakotas. This one was the following month. It was in July 27th. It was in Watertown. This one was also rated an EF2. How'd this one stand out to you, or why did this? Well, never mind. I get it now.
Yeah, you see the background.
Wow. Wow.
That one, I would say that one stuck out with me the most just because of, the environment that day was just so incredibly ripe, and obviously the selfies in front of it and all the interesting things that happen. But more commonly, believe it or not, there was only one home that was impacted. That was the same that happened with the Gary tornado, as well as Clear Lake. I don't think hit any homes. So a lot of these really photogenic tornadoes actually didn't impact that many, if any at all, when it comes to structures.
Gosh, that's the contrast of that. And that's also the good news, right? When we talk about damaging tornadoes, if this can stay over open land, of course, we know that there's an impact to crop and farm, but that can be replaced. Lives and property, it takes so much longer to replace it. You do sometimes get out of your vehicle too. You just make that judgment call based on how the tornado's moving. Is that essentially what it is? Sometimes you want to step out and experience the environment for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you guys have figured out over the last couple of years that we're working together that I want to be so close that I can feel it. Yeah. But I also do it within my limitations. I want to make sure that I'm doing things safely, watching the tornado, seeing how it's acting. I like to watch the cloud base as well, because that'll be your first sign that it's about to make a deviant motion and things like that. So, everybody sees all my selfies in front of tornadoes, but more times than not, if not every time that I've done that, you would notice, if it wasn't a still picture, the tornado's going away from me.
Gosh, yeah, it's a crazy one. I think this next one, this is number 2, as we're getting close to that top one, which I think if people followed you, we know what that number 1 will be. I think we showed the video a bit prematurely, but the Gary, South Dakota one, yet again, another one from the Dakotas. This was on June 28th as well. That's an interesting condensation funnel. I mean, you had more of that white color to it, which I know is based on where the sun's at given the time of day. But what about this was notable, and why did it land in the number 2 spot for you?
Well, honestly, it just was an absolutely incredible tornado. I was going through reeling emotions during this time, especially when this video is coming through as that was happening, because we had that home that almost got struck, and then 2 right after where I was audibly praying that they get missed. And then immediately after that, it just absolutely struck and destroyed a home that I didn't see in a group of trees. And then when I saw the debris, I knew, okay, it's time to give up the chase. It's time to go back, make sure everybody's okay. And thankfully, even though there was virtually nothing left of the home, the only injury ended up being a sprained ankle.
Gosh, what a testament too, right? Being able to walk away after witnessing something like that. And not always do you see that debris cloud so far removed from the actual condensation funnel itself. But watching this thing, a path that was, decent, about 9 miles or so on the ground, but certainly one of the stronger ones, EF3 with winds of 150 miles an hour. Okay, final one, Lake City, Arkansas. No surprise here. Probably when you talk about smelling or tasting a tornado, you got close with this one, Brandon. Ari Sarsalari, Jane Minar, they were in the studio just in awe. We saw this video as it was happening, but this one originating out of Arkansas, and your takeaways, you've had months to think about it. This was before everything happened in the Dakotas too.
Oh yeah, it was an incredible tornado. Unfortunately, it did do damage, but it was something that really stuck with me just because it really looked like the Tuscaloosa tornado of 2011. It really caught me off guard how powerful and intense this tornado looked. And, you know, I think honestly, one of my favorite parts that I always get talked about no matter what is everybody always brings up the live coverage we were doing. And I had a CG cloud to ground lightning strike happen within no more than like 25 yards or so away from me. And it was so loud that when I was holding the microphone talking to you guys, that it was heard through the microphone. And I was just like, oh my gosh, okay, sorry. Lightning just struck right next to me. Anyway.
Yeah,
It was a pretty remarkable experience as a whole.
I remember that, and not often when we look at radar do we see a signal or a signature like we did with this Lake City, Arkansas tornado, a powerful one, and as you had mentioned, damaging. I think that that's the delicate balance too, Brandon. When we look at this, you have this passion for chasing, but oftentimes it does lead to tragic endings, and there is a sensitivity that you have to have, not just to chase, but to also respond, and you do a great job at both. Thank you and congratulations, exclusive Fox Weather Storm Tracker Brandon Copic. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephen.